The echoes in the dark. The sea air was heavy that night, carrying with it the scent of salt and something faintly metallic, like rust or blood. Helen pulled her scarf tighter as the old train screeched into the station. The town wasn't on any map she had studied, yet the travel agent swore it was perfect for someone seeking inspiration and solitude. Inspiration, yes. Solitude, perhaps too much of it. The platform was deserted except for a single lantern swaying in the coastal wind. When the train doors closed behind her with a metallic slam, Helen felt it, the first tremor of unease, like a cold fingertip trailing along her spine. Dragging her suitcase across the uneven stones, she saw the inn at the edge of the road. Its windows glowed faintly amber, promising warmth, yet the building seemed to lean under its own age, as though the walls had secrets they could barely contain. Inside, the innkeeper greeted her with a smile that felt more like an echo than a welcome. "You're the only guest tonight," he said, sliding the key across the counter. His hand lingered near hers for a beat too long. His eyes flickered. Curiosity, recognition, or something she couldn't place. Her room was on the second floor, at the far end of a creaking hallway. The bed was enormous, draped in faded velvet curtains, their dark red folds whispering of past nights and unseen embraces. She touched the fabric, soft, almost indecently so, and felt her cheeks warm. That first night she couldn't sleep. The sound of the sea crashing against rocks below her window mingled with faint noises from the hallway. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, pausing now and then, as though someone stood just outside her door. She held her breath. The handle never turned, but the air inside the room thickened until every exhale felt like a confession. By morning, she convinced herself it was nerves, nothing more. She spent the day exploring the empty beach, where the wind tangled her hair and the gulls circled like impatient witnesses. Yet when dusk fell, she returned to the inn with a strange anticipation, as though she wanted to hear those footsteps again. That night, she did. Louder this time, closer. Her pulse quickened. She rose from bed, her nightgown brushing against her thighs, and stepped toward the door. The handle was cold beneath her fingers, humming faintly with the vibration of movement on the other side. She opened it. The hallway stretched out, empty. Shadows licked the walls, restless. Yet the air carried warmth, human warmth, the lingering scent of musk, like skin heated by desire. She swallowed hard. Then she saw him. At the far end of the corridor stood a man, tall, his face half hidden by shadow. His shirt was undone at the collar, revealing the sculpted line of his chest. He didn't move, didn't speak. He only watched her. And in that silence, Helen felt something stir, a dangerous pull, both frightening and intoxicating. The light flickered. The man was gone. Helen pressed her back against the wall, trembling, but not only from fear. She touched her own wrist, feeling the frantic pulse there. A whisper escaped her lips before she could stop it. "Come back." And the night seemed to listen. Chapter 2. The Invitation. Morning light came pale and thin through the slatted shutters, turning the room's velvet curtains a washed-out pink. Helen lay still for a long time, listening to the sea's distant percussion and the house's soft old sighs. For a few delicious minutes, she let herself believe the stranger had been a dream, a conjuring of loneliness and the imagination of a tired traveler. Then the paper on her pillow told her otherwise. It was a small scrap, folded twice. No handwriting she recognized. The letters were careful, almost ornamental, as if written to be looked at. On the outside, a single line: "Meet me where the night leans into the sea. Midnight." Beneath the line, a smear of something faint, not quite a fingerprint, more like the impression of a kiss pressed and left to fade. Her pulse thudded, not with the obvious alarm of danger, but with a sharper, stranger sound. Curiosity keyed to a throb of longing. She smoothed the paper, feeling suddenly very exposed, as if someone had read what she hid even from herself. She dressed quickly, then walked to the inn's kitchen, where the innkeeper was rolling pastry with hands that had known too many winters. He glanced at her note when she slipped it across the counter, and his smile thinned. "They find ways to ask," he said, eyes glancing toward the narrow window that looked down to the lane. "Be careful, miss. Some invitations are heavier than they look." She wanted to ask him what he meant. Instead, she asked, "Who wrote it?" He shrugged. "Letters come and go. Folks here leave what they leave." He handed her a steaming cup of tea, as if offering fuel for courage. "If you go, keep your head and keep your light." She left before he could say anything more. All day she moved through the town with the note folded into the pocket of her coat like a talisman. The place seemed to watch her back. Shop windows reflected her twice, then 3 times, catching her in angles that made her seem both younger and older. People passed with polite nods that left her feeling like a subject observed by a gallery of casual witnesses. At dusk, she walked the cliff path. The sky was bruised with purple. Gulls drifted out over the black water like pale hands. The town's lamps clicked on, one by one, like fireflies remembering how to burn. He was there before she could decide whether she had been brave or foolish. He stood with his back to the sea as if listening, like someone attuned to a frequency she couldn't yet hear. Up close, he was taller than she expected, and not as cold as the first impression had suggested. His jaw was shadowed. His eyes were the kind that held small, quiet storms. He introduced himself with nothing as clumsy as a name at first, simply a look that asked permission and an easy voice that slid across the wind.
"You came," he said. "Yes," she answered. The single word felt small and immense. He stepped closer in a way that closed the distance without demanding anything. The scent of him was wood smoke and something sweeter underneath, a note of citrus or perhaps bergamot, and it touched her skin like a benediction. He did not reach for her immediately. Instead, he spoke of the town in soft fragments, its tides, its ghosts that preferred to breathe through rumor, the way the cliffs ate light. "You're a writer," he said finally, as if he'd been waiting for this fact. "Or you will be. There's a thickness to what you notice. You carry your silence differently." The compliment should have felt like a trap, an attempt to flatter into compliance. It didn't. Instead, it loosened a knot in her chest. She told him, in a few words, that she was here to write, to be alone and to listen. He listened as if each sentence was a small offering. When he reached for her hand, it was casual, not searching, the thumb brushing her knuckles in a gesture that belonged to ordinary intimacy. She felt the electricity of it, a current that was part risk and part reassurance. She did not pull away. "Midnight," he murmured, "is when the cliffs remember their names." His voice folded around the words like velvet. "Meet me here again. We will let the night tell its stories." She did not ask why he wanted to meet at that hour. The question felt clumsy in the face of how the world had already rearranged itself around the possibility of him. Instead, she agreed. They walked back toward town together under a sky stippled with distant stars. Conversation was sparse. What passed between them was more the language of small, precise silences. Once, his fingers brushed her waist to steer her away from a loose stone, and the contact was both ordinary and electric. When they reached the inn, the innkeeper met them at the door and watched them with an expression that tightened like paper. "Eat," he said to Helen, as if performing a benediction. To the stranger, he added nothing, but his eyes lingered on the man's hands for a heartbeat longer than courtesy required. That night, Helen waited. Midnight moved like a tide, approaching and retreating in long, cruel intervals. When the church bell finally tolled 12, she slipped out again. The path to the cliff smelled of cold stone and the sea's wet breath. He was already there, his silhouette a dark blade against the lighter black of the horizon. He watched her approach with an intimacy that suggested he had been watching long before she'd been aware she might be watched. Up close, in the dark, His features softened and then sharpened in the way of things that cannot be fully seen. He guided her to the edge where the town dropped away and the world opened to the sea's raw, unblinking void. "Do you believe memories can live outside the mind?" he asked. She considered this. "I think they live where people remember the same things, in places, in echoes." He smiled then, the kind of smile that did not fully reach his eyes. "Then you, an explorer with a pen, and I, a poor cartographer of nights, might make a good pair." He reached for her, and this time the contact was a kiss, quick and searching. It pressed against the space between fear and consent, and settled into something that could have been both. Helen felt every small nerve stand at attention, the cliff's wind on her hair, the salt on his lips, the shiver that wanted to be more than alarm. When they parted, the air between them hummed with possibility, yet beneath that hummed something else, an undertone, like the sound of a door closing somewhere behind them. Far below, the ocean sounded like a congregation murmuring. A small light blinked on and off along the shoreline, the lantern of a fishing boat, or perhaps an answering signal, and for an instant, Helen thought she saw another figure standing on a distant spit of rock, watching them with the uncanny stillness of a statue. "Listen," he said softly. He cupped her face with both hands, his touch both gentle and claiming. "Tonight we will tell the night one story. Tomorrow maybe another will be waiting." She wanted to say no, she wanted to say stay, she wanted to ask the questions that crowded her mind. Who are you really? What do you want? But all of them seemed abrupt in the face of the sea's patient roar. Instead, she let herself be led down the cliff path toward the town, toward the promise of a story that had just begun. Behind them, for a breathless second, the darkness seemed to pulse, as if something in the town had noticed and remembered them too.